Show us a little beach action there, Joseph. Look at that, man. Are those all people out there?
Yeah. That's pretty beautiful. Pretty beautiful.
Wow. What is this? Immersive view. What is this crap? This is new. We're gonna ignore that. All right, we're not gonna do anything with that one, Joe. So why don't you have a seat? Let's stop getting the Blair Witch Project. Get that nice beach in the background. I'm gonna go ahead and change to gallery view so we can see a little bit of my ugly mug, a little bit of your ugly mug, and maybe a little bit of the puppo or doggo behind you.
Numerous dogs. I got numerous dogs today. I have 3 joining us. We got Percy. I don't know if you guys can see this. We got a herd of animals.
Oh, I do see that. Yeah, there we go. What's up, guys? Hey, dog. How you doing? I'm Mark Wahlberg. All right, say hi to your mother for me, okay?
Say hi to your mother,
okay. So welcome everyone to the Hacker Outdoors podcast. Welcome back, another week, another episode. Joe, as you can see, is in beautiful Myrtle Beach. I was talking to my buddy today too. He said it was absolutely gorgeous down there. I'm like, Joe sending me sexy leg pictures from the shore.
Oh yeah, hot dog pictures.
Ooh, baby.
It was nice. It was balmy 80-some degrees.
Well, I got to be honest. So here in Northern Jersey, it was, what was it, like 77 today?
That's not bad. Not a bad day for October. Not a bad day. I saw my first Christmas commercial about 2 minutes ago.
Oh, that's my judgment face.
Yeah, it's October something, and Christmas is already here. So.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that because that's silly. So, this episode we are talking about tour fishing, how we ended up. It's been 2 weeks since the last one. 1 week since we talked about your kind of fishing ventures, and wanted to get a heads up on where you ended up. And
no, unfortunately, down here in the swamp, we don't have high-speed internet. It's shoddy. It's hit or miss, but I love the swamp. Basically, if you get lost in the swamp, you can't depend on your Google Maps, which I learned Saturday. So you better know where to go, or you could end up in a bad situation, just like that movie.
A couple of them, right? Didn't I send you a picture of the deliverance point with the banjo?
Yep, it could end up like that. I mean, around Santee Cooper, it gets pretty remote real quick, boys. Real quick. Yeah, real quick.
Well, let's jump on in, Joe. So, we had a big tournament, right?
Mm-hmm. So we had the 2-day super tournament for the MLF BFL South Carolina division. It's their 2-day super tournament championship, where on the second day, the top 20 made it to the second day, I believe. Day one, it was good. A late flurry gave me a good weight, and put me into day 2. Literally, you can't give up when you're tournament fishing, because the last 2 fish I caught, I'm talking minutes before we had to the end, and those last 2 fish were big difference makers in me making day 2. I think at the end of day 1, I was sitting in 12th overall, and Brennan, my buddy and travel partner, was sitting 14th overall. So we both made it to day 2. Day 2 is tough on a lot of people. I did enough. I think I finished 14th overall for the tournament, and I finished the season 9th overall out of a couple hundred guys. And Brennan actually won. He got first place for the season. The best part is, if I would have caught one more fish on day 2, and Brennan would not have won the division. So
coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? That's
well, it makes the ease of not catching as many on day 2 a little better. I would have felt a little bad if I caught another fish, and I would have ended up like number 3 overall, and he would have ended 2. I don't think I could have jumped over him unless he didn't do well day 1, which he did. So, but top 10 for the season. I mean, that's incredible. That's very hard to do. So, lakes I've never fished before. Brennan won it, which is pretty crazy. So now we have the regionals, St. John's River, Blackfoot, Florida, October 21st through the 24th.
Oh wow! So that's coming up real quick.
Yeah, that's a 3-day. Everybody fishes day 2, and then the last day on day 3, I think it's the top 20, maybe. I've never fished St. John's.
So take me through the tournament itself, right? So day 1, you get on the water. What time is it?
So day 1, I partnered with a buddy of mine. You got to hold on a second. The military is apparently
Let's see.
flying some type of insane. See if I can flip it around. You see that thing?
Yeah, what is that?
It's a huge helicopter. The one that's got that big, like pointy thing out the nose of it.
Was that like a longbow they call it or something like that? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. It's a huge helicopter. I mean, it's almost as big as Chinook minus the second prop. But day 1, I got paired up with a buddy of mine who I'm actually fishing a tournament down here with on Saturday. Chafin, real good guy. We ran some spots early morning. We put up this first spot, and we were catching fish left and right. He put a good keeper in the box. I've got a whole bunch of shorts. And we ran to a few other spots, and then just random spots. And about 10:30, I put a real good fish in, just a random fish. Good size. I think it's probably like a 3-pounder in the boat. And then we ran back to where we started, and I put 3 more in the boat. Hindsight's 2020. We shouldn't have left that first spot. We should have probably just stayed there and milked it all day because it was loaded with fish.
Yeah. Would have, should have, right? In hindsight.
We were both saying that when we got back, and like, man, we should have just stayed at that spot. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, we pulled up last couple of minutes. We went somewhere else after I caught a couple in there again. And then the way back in, we stopped there again, and literally 2 casts, 2 big keepers, and we had to go.
Let me ask you, in a tournament, is that advisable? Like I know we talk about this a little bit, like you're catching fish, don't leave, but you're saying he caught a fish there. You kind of hit a little bit of a spell, right? It sounds like, and then you moved on from that spot. So why would you stick in that position?
Well, we never hit a spell. We were catching fish. They were just shorts. He caught a top keeper. It was loaded with fish. You don't want to leave a spot if it's loaded with the right fish and you know they're going to be there throughout the day. If you practice and you know you can stay at that area, it's a good enough area that's good fish in there that you can get 5 good ones off of, you're going to kind of want to stay. Like I said, he caught a keeper up. We caught a couple of shorts. I think the minimum was 15 inches. So they weren't small fish. They were good sized fish. And we just tried some of his other spots just to see. And they weren't really happening. The bite was kind of tough down there then. And I was able to pick off 1 or 2 good ones off those random spots. But hindsight 2020, we probably should have stayed around our starting spot and really worked that, because it was the type of spot that we could each put a solid limit in. We could have each, throughout the day, put a solid 5 fish in there.
What was your go-to technique going into the tournament? And, I know you and Brennan spent some time, the weeks leading up to a tournament, even the week leading up to the tournament, talking about technique, talking about, what you're throwing, where you're going, et cetera, et cetera. What were your thoughts? Did you match that? Did you kind of change it as the day progressed? Did you realize that you were catching these shorts? Did you go up in sizes? How did that look like? Or what did that look like?
So everything played out. So Lake Murray, a lot of locals go out and plant cane piles, they call them. Basically brush piles. So they're taking cane, brush, and they'll plant them in the water, and fish make those cane piles their home, those brush piles their home. So if you can find brush piles, the fish are there. This time of year, most of the guys were catching their fish on topwater walking baits over the cane piles, but it was finicky. So they were throwing big I'm a skimmers, big walking baits, like 4 or 5 inch walking baits with loud knockers, and they'll throw them over the cane pile and walk them because it's a blueback herring lake. And the bass will school on the blueback herring and just come up and be a huge feeding frenzy. So a lot of guys are strictly had in their hands those walking baits. I did have those tied on, but I also had finesse because I've had a lot of luck pulling fish out of the cane piles with finesse presentations, whether it's a Ned rig or a drop shot or a wacky worm. Or a jerkbait, soft or hard jerkbait. And I had a lot of success with the finesse stuff. A lot of the guys who were strictly throwing the walking baits were just getting the bites here or there, here or there. But with the finesse presentation, if we were on a spot with fish, I could get them to bite it. And that's been key for a lot of areas. The bite was tough down there. Like I said, a lot of guys just stuck with that walking bait and lived and died by it. And some guys did really, really well day one just throwing that. But as a co-angler, I'm more of the mind of get as many fish as I can, get a limit, and then go from there.
Now, would that change if you were the boater? Would you change to having a little bit different tactics of, sticking with top water, for example, rather than switching to the finesse? Just saying, you said as a co-angler, right? Your goal was to do exactly fill your bag, right, and get your limit pretty early on. So what would be different if you were the boater?
Right. Well, the thing is, if you're fishing with a decent boater and they're throwing a walking bait and pick fish off their list, really,
Joe, we're
you can
losing
do
you
it.
again.
My philosophy is always been, let me go inside.
Yeah.
One second. There you go. Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
So my philosophy has always been, if you're with the boater who's halfway decent and they're in front of the boat and they're throwing a walking bait, you're not going to pick a lot of fish off behind them, especially if they know what they're doing. That's why I tend to try to throw a little something different, whether it's just a slower presentation to pick off fish that are missing or getting fish to bite who have seen a lot of those who are more finicky. And that's kind of what a finesse presentation does. It's more realistic. It's slower. It's downsizing. And it's just getting those fish that don't bite often to bite. If they're busting all around, then yeah, sure. I mean, if they're feeding like crazy, I mean, you both could be throwing that walking bait and catching them. But when you go over a cane pile and they're not feeding, and he throws that loud bait over there one time and they don't bite, or a couple times, they're not going to bite it. The way these walking baits be throwing, Murray, they're so loud, the knock. You're casting something like 70 yards, and you can hear like all the way. It's so loud. It's definitely a disrupting noise, but it calls the fish out. And my strategy was kind of just go behind and pick off the harder to catch fish. And it definitely paid off.
So, I'd like to recap because I know you and I've talked about it. Congratulations. That's a major year.
Thank you.
Same thing to Brendan. If you're listening, man, that's
it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I would be lying if I didn't say I wanted number one, but I'm glad he won it.
Well, he's your buddy, and you're happy as hell for him. But you definitely you have that drive to, maybe do it next year, right?
Definitely.
And we talked a little bit about it as well offline, and I think a little bit online here too, where we were saying that next year you're trying not to fish the Northeast Division at all. You're trying to stay down there. Is that still the goal now that you've finalized the year? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be fishing the South Carolina Division and probably the Savannah. It's called the Savannah River Division, which is like the Georgia and North Florida Division. I love the Northeast. It's this huge swath of area you cover fishing that. Anywhere from Maryland to Maine, basically. Where it's weird times of the year too. It's just a ton of traveling. We're down here. I mean, there's like probably 15 lakes they pull from, and they're all champion lakes. And, so let's spend a little bit more time down here. The Northeast, I know really, really well. The southern lakes are still kind of new to me. I mean, really new to me. So I think it'll be good for the future, just kind of getting a good feel on these lakes. Like I said, the driving, I'd love fishing the St. Lawrence, but where we launch out of, it's like a 12-hour drive from my house. And that's kind of a lot for a one-day tournament.
Oh, for sure. That's a huge road trip. And yeah, I can tell you from driving up north a number of times. I mean, that's it looks close, but it's not.
Another thing is Brennan and I camp and we travel together, so that saves a lot of costs. The hotels up there are so expensive in upstate. Like even in these remote areas, they're through the roof. What him and I do, we just camp, and it costs us near nothing. I think it'll be fun. It looks like the schedule is setting up. I think Hartwell is on there, Lake Murray's on there, Santee Cooper's on there. A couple others I haven't fished before on there, so it should be good. It's not finalized yet, but it should be out soon.
Cool. Well, let's finish on this. So next year, goals obviously is trying to beat that coming first in the co-angler. What
the
are you
season's not
planning
done
on?
yet.
Well, it's
Season's
true.
not done. The ultimate goal is to make it to the PFL All-American, which very, very few guys ever do. Even top pros have never made that to there. So the regional, if we do good at the regional, we go into the All-American, which is a huge, huge deal. But goals next year is to win it. I want to be number one.
If you're not number one, you're last. Is that what it was?
You're last, pretty much. If you're not first, you're last.
That's right. Okay,
I got small tournaments. Like I got a small tournament Saturday on Santee Cooper, which will be fun. And I got some ABA events still, and I'll fish a lot of tournaments. But I think South Carolina in the Savannah River division will be starting up into January, so we're really not that far off in the grand scheme of things.
No, not at all, really. And I think I like to kind of reflect on what's happened over the past year or season, or even like you do with events. What did we do wrong? What can we do better? And I know you're there and you're scheming, and you and Brendan are talking, and you're learning from what happened this year and trying to figure out, what's next. So I'm excited to see.
This year, this coming season will absolutely be my last as a co-angler. Absolute last. No more. There'll be boater. So we're here learning the lakes, and then the following season we'll be out there going full bore.
Well, for those of you who are unaware, Joe has told me that he's moving to the Dirty South, and he's planning on dancing at least 3 days a week to help pay for the boat. So if you are down in the Myrtle Beach area and of the gentleman's club or female's club, whatever you want to call it, that Joe will be working at, please make sure you tip. It's a dollhouse. Make sure you give him plenty of tips and help him fulfill his dream of getting a nice big boat.
There'll be a boat by next summer. So
I'm joking, of course.
Fellas. Dollhouse, Route 17, North Myrtle Beach.
There we go. So, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Is that what it is right now?
I might do Wednesdays, because Wednesdays is $5.99 all you can eat prime ribs, so that brings a big crowd.
I love the humor. Well, Joe, appreciate your time, man, and everyone, thanks for listening.